Hey guys, as you can hear, I'm a little bit under the weather right now, but on top of that, we lost our original recording for episode 91 this week. So we've had some technical difficulties that we've had to adjust course for. So for episode 91 this week, we pulled out one of our Dysfunction Junction bonus episodes. This one was recorded and released about end of May, beginning of June of 2023, and we're discussing living with a partner with ADHD. So either you or your partner or both of you have ADHD and adjusting to living together and coping with that long term. So this coming weekend, we'll be re-recording episode what will become episode 92, and we'll be recording a bunch of new episodes as well. And in the meantime, I hope you like it, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe wherever you find us, especially Apple Podcasts. Leave us that 5-star review, write us a review. That's really helpful. And you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh. You'll get ad-free and extended cut episodes, also video episodes for most weeks except for this week because we don't have a video version of this recording. But in the meantime, remember to take some vitamin C because the bar is ankle high. Welcome to Dysfunction Junction, episode 19. I'm Katie.
I'm Garet.
I don't know how much of that intro you guys will get. Probably none of it. But
I had to guess. The thought of like, I don't see him when he's editing, but just the thought of like sometimes I'll hear
9.5 minutes of what are we talking about here?
Sometimes like he'll be editing something and I will hear him like cackle from the other room and I'm like, it's never something I said. It's always something you said. He'll like laugh.
That makes me so proud.
I'll be like, what were you laughing at? And he was like, oh, Katie said something really funny. I'm like, oh. Fine.
What was the thing? Oh, that I'm in the 95th percentile for my height and weight.
He laughed. So and then there was something else. There was something the other day, the last time he was editing, that he was like dying. Came in at like paused what he was doing and came in to tell me about it because he thought it was so funny. And now I don't remember what it was. I don't remember. It was very funny though.
We had a bunch of good moments in our episode with Jamie. So
I think that's the episode that he was working on. He heard something and he was like dying. It's never what I expect. Like when he tells me what he was laughing at, I'm like, oh.
All right. Maybe that's part of our charm. We're unexpectedly funny.
He did say like one of the things that he likes when he listens is that we never he's like, you never take the obvious joke. I was like, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's right. Low-hanging fruit is for the unshaved dog balls.
I also forgot how much we were talking about.
Me too.
We were listening. I was listening back and I was like, wow, we really went all in on this conversation.
We were really upset about testicles. So mad. And googly eyes on the testicles. That one got me. I forgot all about that.
God, that was great. That was really funny.
But yeah, no. Learning to live with a partner is going well. So it's interesting. So for us, in addition to learning to live with a partner, normally PK, before he got his current job, he would get out at 6 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then he had the other days of the week off. So at least on Mondays, I had like a solid 2 hours after work to like run errands. I could go grocery shopping, do all sorts of stuff, because then as soon as he got out of work, he'd call me and like tell me all about his day, completely decompress and unload. And he had like maybe like a 20-minute drive home from his last job to his old apartment. And then he got this job and his drive home was about 40 minutes to his old apartment, but he went through a dead zone at a certain point. So we could chat for like 15-ish minutes
And then he'd have to either call me back when he was close to home or until like once he got home. And we would talk for a really long time. And I know what you're thinking. I'd rather die than talk on the phone.
Yeah,
And
I
I
was
used to
just thinking, like, I don't think we ever really used to talk on the phone.
I never have talked on the phone with a partner the way that PK has forced me to learn how to talk on the phone.
Well, he also puts his phone on ring, so he's got unusual phone habits.
He does have unusual phone habits. And like he flat out said, I think we kind of said to each other, like, because he was like, well, I'd really prefer to talk on the phone. And I was like,
Yeah.
why? Like immediately, like when we first started dating, thinking that there was a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And so he was like, well, can I just call you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I was like, fuck, here we go. Like, whatever, just get it over with.
Yeah.
And so he was just like telling me about his day. And I was like, so
the same thing
why?
as
I was like, so why did you call me?
when he wanted to go for a walk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And you were like,
one.
He's going to break up with me and I'm going to be sweaty, so we can't go for a walk. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Well, what happened was that
she's like, initially, she's like, so what happened?
So
like,
in my
like
defense, though, it was like the day after the Uvalde school shooting. And the security footage had come out of the police refusing to breach the classroom door. And so all I could think about was those poor children stuck inside, like screaming, and the cops just like standing there being like, well, I don't want to get shot.
Well, that's a dark
when they're in fucking
setup.
riot gear.
Yeah.
And so like, but again, I had a 45-minute drive to PK's old apartment. So I'm like marinating on this and kind of listening to like some random podcast, probably a true crime one, to be honest. And yeah, so I had this whole drive out there. And as I'm driving out there, I'm like maybe 20 minutes away from his place. And he's like, hey, do you want to go for a walk when you get here? We can take Coco, his dog. And I was like, yeah, sure. But it was like 80 degrees, maybe 75. And so like it was a nice day, but in my head, I'm like, we could only see each other at that time. We were only seeing each other once a week because we lived so far from each other and we both worked full time on these like opposite schedules. So in my head, I was like, oh, he wants to go for a walk, so I'll be sweaty and he can dump me because then I won't want to have sex because I'll be sweaty, which is, I agree, a leap. However,
but when you're in a dark headspace, sometimes your
oh my
ability
God,
to make those.
The RSD was wild on that day, let me tell you. So it was just like, God, it was just insane. So we get there and he, like, I walk in and he was like, hey, how's it going? Like his normal self. And I was like, I'm fine. Like, it's just, you know, whatever. And so like I had to go to the bathroom. And so I'm like, all right, like buck up, chick. Like you gotta get dumped. And so he like, the bathroom was like through his bedroom. So I go to use it. And when I came out, he was sitting on his bed and he was like, come sit with me. And I was like, fuck, we're not even going to make it to the walk.
So convinced.
Oh my God. And so he was like, we just like laid on his bed and he was like, well, what's going on? Like, you seem like really upset. And so like, I started telling him about the shooting and the footage I saw and just how upset it made me and how sad it made me. And I was like, and then you asked me to go for a walk and like, that can only mean one thing, but I'm driving all the way out here. And so then
one thing. Oh, poor kid. Oh God.
And I was like, so I'm driving all the way out here. So I'm trying to remember like all the stuff that I have left here so that I don't leave it there. And like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, what do you mean it could only mean one thing? And I was like, well, I figured that you were like telling me that you wanted to like take space or whatever. And he was like, no, it's just a nice day. And I thought we could go for a walk. And he was like, what? And I was like, well, because if I'm sweaty afterwards, then you don't want to have sex with me. And he was like, I have a shower. Like, what are you talking
like
about?
Immediately as a workaround for that specific issue.
He was like,
that's like those, you know, the tweet that says something about like, oh, it's so crazy to be married to somebody that doesn't have anxiety.
Which is wild because he has real bad anxiety.
Yeah, that he didn't like make that.
Mm-mm.
No, he was just
So
like, it's
now,
just a walk.
anytime he asks if I want to go for a walk, he'll say like, "We are gonna break up, though. You realize?" And like he'll like throw it in my face.
That's good.
So yeah, he's like, "Well, apparently I can't ask you to go exercise because you'll think I'm dumping you."
It was, I remember you telling me that when it happened, and I was like, that's a long, I mean, for lack of a better word, that's a walk, like logically, to get from do you want to go for a walk to you're obviously dumping me. At least he never said he didn't want to shit where he ate.
That is true. He does have that going for him.
Yeah, because I was dumped with that logic.
Mm-hmm. I was dumped. I forgot to mention it in that episode, but I was dumped by a engineer who told me that he felt like he was settling with me.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that. What a
Yeah. And every so often that person will send me like a Facebook message or an email and ask me like how I'm doing, and or a text. I've gotten a text from him before and like just wanted to see and make sure you're doing okay. Like super fucking gross.
You know, that's like the same type of person that tells you when you break up that they want to be friends.
Yeah,
Every
I'm rooting for
person-
you from the sidelines.
Every person that I have gone through a breakup with that has been like, can we still be friends? I go, no, I don't want to be friends.
Yeah. Why would I want to be friends? You're
Like,
the worst.
You fucking suck. Yeah, no, like never once have I been like, yeah, let's be friends. I mean, I would like to think that maybe at some point I had had like a mature enough, you know, situation with somebody, but no, it's just
The
I don't wanna
only
be
ex
friends.
that I'm friends with, kind of, even really not now, especially since I've met PK, but until I met PK, I was like friendly with this one ex, and I dated him in college, like on and off, and like he cheated on me. So it's like I was able to like completely divorce myself from any feelings I have for him because he cheated on me.
Yeah.
And like it's just like whatever, Andy. Like good
And
for
we
you,
talked
I
about
guess.
that in the one episode, like that switch flipping.
Yes, yeah.
Like once you have that, oh, okay, no, this is done. It's like done.
Yeah, I'm a psychopath. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but you know
Episode
what?
2.
When I went through a breakup before my spouse and I got together, it was like I just had enough and like called him and broke up with him. And the only part that was like, I wasn't sad about breaking up. It felt like a weight was lifted. Like I ripped the band-aid off and like got it over with. But the difficult part was his coping with it, calling me incessantly. And I had to block like 2 different phone numbers. He was
That's
calling
crazy.
and telling me he was like checking into the hospital, like mailing me things and emailing me, and like it was I eventually wound up getting rid of my LinkedIn because I was like, this basically says where I am 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
That's
So
why I got rid of
it.
mine.
Yeah.
Also, the notifications from it and the emails are incessant.
Yeah, also LinkedIn is just like a dumpster fire. So
do you are you a member of LinkedIn Lunatics on Reddit?
I am now.
That's a good one.
That's good. That's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
LinkedIn
it's like
is
all
just
those
like a
people that like have those
crazy place.
bullshit stories of like my 4-year-old taught me a lesson today, and it's like
Oh,
blah 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 bullshit. And yeah, all those things like
the
that. And, like,
LinkedIn
he wants to
shares.
work today, and like
It's just it's like
agree.
every guy that you ever crossed paths with who works in sales,
Yeah.
just that's all LinkedIn is.
Mhm.
And I was like, I got to the point where I was like, I'm working like in the public sector, and it's just not a space that like utilizes LinkedIn. So I
No,
got
not
rid
really.
of it. You're like never going to
Even
get a job based on that.
yeah, like even for me, as an attorney, yeah, like I feel like when LinkedIn started, like when we were in college and undergrad, they were like, "Oh, LinkedIn, like it's like a resume, blah blah
Gotta have
blah."
it.
Yeah, like you have to have a LinkedIn. Make sure it's professional and you use these words and da 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 da. And then somewhere along the line, I don't know how or where or when, it turned into this like meat market of recruiters. And that's all it
Yeah.
is. It's people with like trying to get your wealth management portfolio and recruiters who have nothing to do with what you do and
Who
what is
like
in your experiences.
and no, they must like I wonder if they get, if there's like a commission based thing for reaching like contacts, like reaching out to people, because
Or
I
like,
remember somebody
yeah.
reaching out to me and I tried contacting him back at one point when I was looking for a job and like ghosted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what is the point?
Yeah.
You're headhunting and there's a head responding. So
Yeah, no, LinkedIn sucks.
it's the worst. But anyway, that's why I got rid of it. So how anyway, our point of dysfunction function today was talking about settling
so
in.
Yeah, so the difference now is that in addition to PK not having a 45-minute drive home, we also both, first of all, we work like 30 steps from each other. But we also live like 10 minutes from the office, which is an amazing commute. Don't get me wrong. But that means that as soon as my beloved comes home, all he needs to do for like an hour and a half is tell me all about his day, every single thing. And at least now it's like office type stuff that I can relate to. Before it was like warehouse stuff, and I was like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about, dude. It was like the teacher from Charlie Brown. But so at least now there's like some better context. But yeah, it is that thing where like today I had to run a few errands before I got home, and I got home like, I get out of work at 4. I got home at like 4:50, and I had to throw the sprinkler on out back and let the dog out and bring in all the packages that got delivered today, because for whatever reason everything got delivered today, and then feed the cats and like situate everybody and then change and like all these different things. And so like by the time I had like just started unpacking one of the boxes, which was a dog bed, he came home, and once he was on the phone and then like wanted to tell me all about his day. And then I got the text from you that was like, yeah, I can do 5:30. That's perfect. And it was like 5:22. And I was like, cool, I need to plug in my laptop from the weekend because I didn't reset it up after we recorded over the weekend.
Mine was literally, I just shut it. It had all of my stuff from the episodes we were open because I literally just shut it and walked away from it.
Fair. I mean, I shut it. I just left it in my backpack for almost a week. So I definitely needed to plug it in because it wouldn't turn on otherwise. And yeah, so I had to do all that. And so he was like trying to talk to me and tell me about whatever the hell he's doing. And I was like, cool, like you can come into the cat room with me, but like I have to set up. And he was like, well, set up for what? And I was like, I am recording today, which I've told him 3 times in the past 24 hours. And he was like, well, yeah, I know. I just didn't know like what you had to set up. And I was like holding my laptop as he's saying this to me. And so there's like little things like that where I'm like, we really need to work on our communication.
I told you COVID was like a big change for us because it was like, you know, before we might have like, we call them Tiffanies.
Yeah.
Like a little tiff. And, you know, both leave for work and then eventually cool off. And like one of us would text the other one like, okay, I've reflected. And COVID, it was like, well, we're just in this space.
Yeah.
Together all the time, working all the time. And it was just one of those, like, we need to, it wasn't a conscious thing, but I think we just both realized like, wow, if we work on this a little bit, it's going to make life easier. Not that it's perfect, but I mean, it's a work in progress all the time.
Yeah. And I think what I've noticed anyway is that, because also PK for sure has ADD or ADHD and is undiagnosed, that he really like it's a struggle for me because I don't want to feel like I'm nagging, but he truly thrives when I give him like a bulleted list of things to accomplish. Like this morning I was like, can you take those 2 tables down to the basement before you leave for work? And I knew he had to go down to the basement because he had clothing in the dryer that he needed for work. So I was like, okay, well, that's a 2 birds, 1 stone thing. And so he kind of like rolled his eyes and was like, oh, really? And I was like, yes. I was like, the dishes are all done. I did the laundry. It's in the dryer. Like, that's all you have to do. I vacuumed yesterday. And he's like, I did the dishes yesterday morning. And I was like, no, I understand. I'm just saying that like, that's the only thing you need to do before I leave for work. So like nothing else is left for you to handle.
Can I tell you our tiff last night?
Yes.
So he is away for work, and we were video chatting because we like do that in the evening for like right before we go to bed, just kind of like touching base. And we were kind of like going over like what we need to get done in the next few days and like action items. It's like, I want to get like our bedroom kind of put back together, and we have like 2 rooms that are like a shit show right now. I'm like, I just want to get those like in order.
Unshit showed.
It's just stressing me out. And then I said, oh, by the way, I've got poison ivy all over, so can you spray that poison ivy spray in the yard to like kill it? Because normally we do that every spring. He does it, but I have to like prompt the, hey, can you go do this? And now that it's 90 degrees, poison ivy is like that much more unpleasant. So he went, oh, I have so many things to do. And I was like, so that's what I did. That face. That
I made a face where I like zoomed in to the attitude, I guess, is how I would describe it.
And I just had that feeling of, well, there's plenty of things that like I'm taking care of the absolute maximum number of things I can take care of because my ability to do things is just limited. So I'm only asking the things that I have to ask, like the things that I need us to be on the same page with. And we're like both kind of in the same boat here. And he's like, no, there's just so many things to do. And I'm like, well, then I'll start taking care of more things myself. Because I immediately get like, well, I have like a hard time asking for help with things anyway.
Yeah.
So when I do ask for help and that's the response I get, it makes me want to scream.
Yeah, it would make me want to like immediately shut down and go into I'll just handle it mode, which I fundamentally disagree with, because I feel like that's, again, like, not that I'm saying that your spouse was doing it in this way at all, but it can so quickly turn into that weaponized incompetence. And I don't want to like nurture or harbor that behavior in my partner at all. And I certainly don't want them to feel like that's what I'm doing to them either. But there is this thing, like, I struggle, like I said, I don't want to feel like I'm nagging, and I don't want to have to feel like I'm telling you all these different things to do. But there is an aspect to it where like my partner has undiagnosed ADHD and thus untreated until tomorrow, has not had insurance that will cover mental health. So he hasn't even been able to get like CBT if he wanted to pursue that and not medication. The providers that he was seeing refused to diagnose and or treat his ADHD with medication. So on the one hand, I'm like, these are the things that need to get done. Like, these are the things that like are visibly irritating. Like our dining room.
Yep.
It's my stuff. We need to get it unpacked, but like I need like the body doubling. Like I need him to be also putting stuff away. And then I'll put my own shit away.
Yeah.
Or I need him to like help me find a place and then I can put it there. But like having to make that decision of like, where does this go and where can we put it? And like that, I think, is where a lot of my overwhelm is coming from right now.
Totally. Because you're doing it like 1,000 times a day when you're moving.
Yes, exactly. And
so you get that decision fatigue.
Right. And we're putting stuff together, our 2 lives. So like, I also don't want to like nudge him out and make him feel like he doesn't have space in this place. So it's just like, it's been very interesting. And there's been a few times like we haven't gotten like genuinely pissed, but was it last night? Yeah. In the morning, because I made dinner Tuesday night. So yesterday morning, I was like, okay, like, what do you want to have for dinner tonight? And he was like, well, what do we have? And I was like, you know what we have. You were there when we bought it. What do you want?
Dinner. I hate the conversation. I hate the question.
And it's the kind of thing where like he has said like, well, a week ago, he was like, yeah, like HelloFresh is fine, but like it's only good for like recipes if you really need something. And I was like, oh no, I think it's good for more than just recipes. I think it's good because it stops me from having to make that decision. Yes. Is it meal 1 night or meal 2 night? Like the end. Like,
and
that.
For us, it's also something where like I'm not good with like coming up with, okay, I want this for dinner. I'm good with this is what I have and this is what I can make with it.
Mhm.
And if I'm making dinner that way, that's a lot of like mental flexing that I'm having to do to get dinner made. Whereas when HelloFresh gets delivered, I can say to my spouse, there's a HelloFresh meal in there with a recipe card. Like, can you take care of dinner? And it's like something I can be completely removed from. So that
Interesting.
is like, but he, and we'll get a HelloFresh and he's like, ugh, we got a HelloFresh box. And I'm like, this couldn't be easier for
Our partners are twins, I swear. Like, and it's so funny because what he said
makes
to
me
me,
so mad.
because he was like, and he's told me this before. He was like, I'm really jealous of how you can just like, and he doesn't say like throw together, but what he's saying is like, I'm jealous of how you can just throw together a meal because I just look at what I have and I
Yeah.
have protein, carb, veg. Like
Yeah.
that's dinner.
It's just
Like
practice.
I don't, yeah, like I don't really like bend over backwards. This isn't going in front of Gordon Ramsay. So
Right. Yeah.
like I don't give a fuck. Like I like
Right.
chicken, I like broccoli, I like rice. There we go. I have all
Right.
three of those things.
Right.
Game over.
Right.
So either
And like
way, yes.
having that one thing and then okay, I can build on that. Do I want like an Asian stir fry? Do I want to do like there's like so many different things, but it's you kind of have to when you're the one doing that, then it's like, okay, like where am I going with this? Am I doing it this way? What do I have? What other things do I have to get out of the fridge? What do I have to prep?
To me, it's not that complicated, but I think it is for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I'm like, what is the fucking problem?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we have rice, you know, we have pasta, you know, that we have chicken and chicken sausage, you know, that we have broccoli and corn and peas and then fresh vegetables in the fridge. Like, these are all options. Just
Mm-hmm.
pick something. And he was like, oh, okay, well, which granted, like I didn't say all of that to him because like it wasn't that big of a deal, but I was like, do you want chicken? And he was like, well, yeah, like, do we still have it? And I was like, yes. He's like, well, I didn't know how much you made. And I was like, you were there when it's been 2 days. Like, how much chicken did you think I made? But he said to me, so he was like chicken, rice, and broccoli. And he's like, and then he was like pausing and he's like, well, do you want broccoli? And I was like, well, we could do salads if you don't want broccoli. And he was like, yeah, okay. So I get home and he was like, like doing the decompressed chat and everything. And it was like 6:30. And I was like, okay, like we need to start that brown rice. It takes forever to cook. And he was like, well, I thought you said we were having salads. And I was like, I thought you said we were having chicken, rice, and salads. And he was like, well, no, you said salads. And I was like, you said chicken. And he was like, yeah, with a salad. And I was like, are you saying you only wanted a salad with chicken on top? Like, so we had this like huge miscommunication.
Yeah.
But it was, and like that, at that point, I was like, we need to work on how we communicate because this is like a stupid miscommunication that like should not have happened. But evidently, we were both speaking in half sentences, thinking that we were on the same page, and we were in different fucking libraries.
It's really fascinating because and you do see the evolution over time where I've definitely changed like the way I communicate things. And it's funny because like sometimes I'll catch myself like I said to him the other day, I was like, hey, could you take the compost out to the like outside bin for me? He was like, yeah, sure. So he brings it in and I was doing other stuff and I come back and I go to put something in it or he put something in it and I stopped and I said, did you wash that when you brought it in? And he was like, are you really asking me if I brought the compost out and like didn't wash the compost bin out? And I was like, yeah, I'm just confirming. He was like, of course I washed it. And I was like, right, but sometimes you take things at face value and you don't read between the lines. You'll just take what I said for Bible.
Right.
And you're not like reading into it and doing any extra steps. And he got like really kind of insulted. And I was like, I'm not saying it like in I was just checking. I was just making sure. But I was like, it would be very much a miscommunication that we would have where I would be like, hey, can you take this out? And he would like take it out and then just like set it back where it goes.
You mean like when I took out the trash and he didn't put a bag in and did
Yeah.
and then I put the K-cup into the trash and it went right. Thank God it was just a K-cup and not something like wet.
Just the worst. It's just the worst feeling. And it's funny because I had just had he took the garbage out, and like as he took it out, I grabbed the bag and put it in the thing and realized we only had one bag left. And I wrote on the dry erase board, garbage bags. So I was like, we're definitely gonna forget to buy those.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I always get like a mega pack because they're the
we buy them like
worst.
once a year.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing where like if you run out of it, there's no substitute.
No.
There's no like workaround. It's not like, oh, I would have preferred to clean this absolutely disgusting thing with paper towels so I can just throw it away and I don't have to clean this rag.
Yeah.
But I forgot to get paper towels, so I'll just use the rag. It's fine. No, there's no workaround if you don't have a trash bag.
It's bad news when you don't have trash bags left.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't know that that's happened to me. I think I've gotten close where I was like on my last bag and I was definitely pushing the limits of what that bag could hold.
Yeah, like I'll get to the point where I can't slide the thing starts like in a drawer. I can't slide it closed anymore because it's just like, but there's still room in the bag, so I'll like pull
your
it up
bin
and
is
like
just
half,
short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that one of the things that has helped with us both in forgetting to buy things and helped like catch little things that we might sometimes forget to mention or whatever, is the dry erase board on the fridge. Has been super helpful. Like dental floss, I keep forgetting to buy dental floss, so it's just one of those things, like I only think of it in this really brief moment, like before I go to bed. So those both are currently on my dry erase board on my fridge, but it's very helpful for like, I think not an argument, but like a tiff that we have a lot is he'll go do the grocery shopping, but then it's, what do we need? And I'm like, okay, so you're not really, I mean, it's helpful for you to go to the grocery store, but if I have to, no, that's a lie. One time we did get in a fight fairly recently because I was in the middle of scrubbing the shower and the bathroom, like literally had everything was covered in like cleaner, and I had like that brush thing I got, that spinny brush, and I'm scrubbing the shower, and he was like, hey, what do we need at the store?
Oh man.
And I was like, excuse me? I don't, what? I was like, are you seriously asking me to stop what I'm doing right now to give you a list for the store? Yeah, I don't know what we need.
Why?
That was not the best moment.
Yeah, I would imagine that would have inspired vitriol.
Is a really good way to put it. Yeah, I was feeling very inspired when that happened, and I was like, it is really disrespectful.
You just grow like Maleficent horns off the top of your head.
100%. I was like, that is so disrespectful of my time that I am in here like scrubbing the fucking shower. He's gonna be so mad when he hears this. I'm in the middle of scrubbing.
I bet he's gonna cut it out.
Take that. And you're asking me to make a list.
Yeah, that's wild. It's funny because like last night when I messaged you today about PK coming to our recording on Saturday, but he was like last night and this morning, he was like, so what are we doing this weekend? And I was like, this, like unpacking. Like, and that's
gesturing vaguely.
That's how he got tasked with putting the tables in the basement, because I was like, I'm sick of tripping over shit everywhere. I'm sick of it. I am like fully at my limit. And
especially after just having like had a week and a half straight of it.
Yeah.
Like where you were off work and doing it all day, every day.
Yeah, there's that. And then so doing it all day, every day, was back to work. I was back to work last week, like partially. I had to come home and deal with like electrical stuff. So I didn't have a full week of work last week. And then this week is a holiday week. But so he was like, well, what are we doing though? And I was like, you told me that your mom's coming over this weekend and that we're going to have dinner with them. And he was like, well, she hasn't gotten back to me. I was like, well, can you text her and confirm like what the plan is? Because also we're getting like patio furniture and his mom's old grill from her. So theoretically she'd bring this stuff over and then we'd cook on it and whatever. And it's going to be way cooler this weekend. So potentially we could even eat outside if it's not going to be too rainy. So anyway, I was like, well, can you like confirm with that? Because without that information, I can't tell you like what our weekend looks like. And he was like, okay, well, like, what else are we doing? And I was like, I have to record on Saturday. And he was like, all right, like what time? And I was like, and I told him the time that we usually record. And nice try, stalkers.
I was really, so when you did that, I was like, huh, that's very unlike her. Normally she would just say the time.
And so I was like, well, the time we usually record. And he was like, okay. And I was like, why? What's going on? And he was like, well, I just thought like, you know, do you have anything going on after that? And I was like, standing in the middle of the dining room that needs to be unpacked. And I was like, I really want to get this done. Like, and I'm like trying to water my plants that I'd finally brought over from my apartment. And he's like asking me all these questions this morning. And he's like, well, do you think that we could like do like a full grocery trip, like to like multiple stores on Saturday then, like once you're done recording? And I was like,
oh, that sounds like a whole ass nightmare. Woo!
I was like, yeah, we can do that. And like, to be fair, we do need to stock up on things that are like staples and like things that aren't like, we both have like, we brought like our individual packs of like ramen noodles that we just have in our pantries. And like, so we have those like random things, but we don't have things that like we can just grab and go with.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, we can do that. And there's a few things that he wanted to get for the house as well. And I think we might end up getting, we definitely need to get like some pantry shelving. But yeah, no. So anyway, I guess like if you're learning to live with your partner and either of you have ADHD,
it's hard. It's hard without ADHD.
Yeah, it is. And I think and pets and trying to find a new therapist and
both of you.
Making sure that the pets are all right, which has been stressful. And my male cat is still extremely unhappy and stressed out and solitary, which he usually is not. I'm hoping that he'll get there. I've told my female cat to tell him that it's safe. But I don't know that she has.
Trying to get you. I always knew this was going to happen.
The dog's going to eat you.
He told me.
They're going to have a coal kebab.
Meow.
You know, there's that picture of the cat, and it's supposed to like imply the cat's having flashbacks, and there's like pictures of like
the
helicopters like Vietnam. That's Cole.
That is him. Yes, absolutely.
But it's like Coco's face that he's seeing.
It's Coco's face and also the new cat's face.
She's so tiny.
She's very tiny. And actually she and Sophie were using the same scratching post today at the same time. They were on like opposite sides. It was very cute. And I didn't have my phone, but it was like super funny. But yeah, no, so they're getting along. So which is why I'm like, Sophie, just go tell him like Kiki's cool. We can be friends with her.
Yeah. Like
the cat's all right. Just come to the cat room. The cat room is safe.
It's just so odd that he's like,
I mean, he's like super skittish. Like he was pretty, even when I lived, when I had to move in with my mom, I had Cole at that point, and he was very much not about being in a new place with my mom. And he had not really met her before, but so it took time with that, and she didn't have any pets of her own. So we'll see. But I mean, between it being a house, like he's been down in the cellar, he's usually under the bed, hiding, and then yeah.
So sad. Like
it is, but I'm hoping that once we have the dining room kind of fully set up and like situated, and there's less like moving parts that
And
he'll
he'll
feel
adjust to
better.
like smells and sounds, and he'll feel less like edgy.
Yeah. So we'll get there. But yeah, I would say if you're moving in with a partner or still trying to figure it out, yeah, try to notice when you struggled understanding their version of communicating and when they struggled understanding your version of communicating, and kind of like go back from there. Like the way you walk me back when I don't remember how I got to a certain topic. Like you basically have to do that, like talk yourself back.
Yeah, I mean it's we've lived together for 10 years, and there's still times where we have like a very blatant miscommunication, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes we're like arguing about something and we're saying the same thing.
So common. Yeah. PK and I have
And
done that about like nonsense things, like movies that we like.
where we're like back and forth, and it's like, whoa, wait a second. We're fighting about we're saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or like things that we agree on. I just feel like I need to like fully communicate how I feel about it, even if we both agree.
Yeah, I think it's that thing of like wanting to make sure that you're heard,
For
and
sure.
and also again like that kind of ADHD thing where we're prone to kind of over explaining
Mm-hmm.
and to ensure that we aren't misunderstood. So then when you
Yes.
feel like that you might be starting to get misunderstood by somebody who's important to you, it like enhances your need to kind of over explain what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. There's definitely some chores that have to get done today or this weekend. And I'm looking forward to it because it'll be like a real weekend that's not stuck cleaning out his place or
Right.
cleaning out my place or.
And you've got like a home base.
Yes,
And you get into
exactly.
a flow too, like as time goes on. I know like one of the things I had a hard time with and one of the things we worked on during COVID was there was a lot of times where I felt like I shouldn't have to ask you to do XYZ. And
Mm-hmm.
he would want me to like directly ask. And I was like, no, like I'm not your mom. I'm not going to sit here and like give you a list and like directly ask you. But I realized that when I did do that, like things get done.
Mm-hmm.
B, there's like no excuse for things not being done because I've directly asked you to do them. But also it made him better at like anticipating things and taking care of things on his own. Because we
Yeah.
were just like constantly in this like tug of war where he was like, explain it to me, and I'd be like, no, fuck yourself. And we would just
Eat
do
a
this.
dick.
and finally it was like, oh, so when I just like say what I need, it makes it easier for the other person to like meet that need.
Mm.
Which I do try and do in like other areas of my life now. Like I'm trying to get better about like communicating, hey, no, I can't take care of that because I'm really overwhelmed with this.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like my car. I have like 7 small things that are wrong with it. That is too many things at this juncture of my life for me to be taking care of. It's literally just
Yeah.
gonna get a
And
new
it's
car.
that thing again, it's like that ADHD tax where it's like, okay, I'm at the point where I'm getting overwhelmed. So now it's a question of like, is it better to just hire a professional and pay the money or whatever it is to handle it for me
Right.
so that it's done? Or can I find a workaround so I can do it myself? And like, obviously that's like a huge point of privilege to be able to say like, I have the
Definitely.
discretionary income to spend my money on that this month. However, part of the good thing about living with a partner, like especially I think a romantic partner, I mean, I've had good roommates before, but never like where I could fully be myself, I guess. But at least with a partner, you can say like, this is what I'm struggling with, or full out say like, I'm overwhelmed and I'm not dealing with this right now, which I for sure said when we were moving, where I was like, by like the third or fourth like disaster that happened,
God, that was bad.
it was a bad week.
That was
It
rough.
was bad. It was
I was
real.
worried. I was like, oh, when that like what was the therapist thing? I was like, oh, that's when I would have been like, that was me on Thanksgiving when I had to lay down when I had to lay down on the couch and stare at the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. And that was the day before the movers showed up.
Oh fuck!
So that was like the second thing.
Bernie, I am so sorry, Patreon, that it is. We had some time of quiet, and that time has passed. I have
that's
one.
true.
Hey, I have one that has my sandal in his mouth, and he's just running around with it. The other one's screaming because he wants food. Bernie literally jumped up, ran up, and was like in my face, like,
"Feed me, ho!"
And then the barking. Yeah, it's definitely, but it's also like, I think it's really rewarding because like I can also think back and be like, wow, like fights that we had that I can remember from like years ago, and I'm like, we communicate. Bernie, hey. And I'm like, wow, we communicate so much better now. Or that's a fight that we could have completely avoided if it were now, because we communicate so much better, or we're better about.
But yeah, I mean, that's how moving. I mean, yeah, by the time my therapist called me to tell me that she was leaving private sector and I needed to find a new therapist, like the electrician told me that we needed to reschedule shutting the power off because National Grid changed the date. It was supposed to be the Friday before I moved. National Grid changed it to Monday. My electrician was busy and couldn't do Monday, so we changed it to the following Friday. National Grid still showed up on Monday. And so I had to deal with that. And then somewhere in between there, I got stuck in a ladder that was like a sliding ladder, and truly thought that I was going to break my my upper arm bone because it was like on a stairwell and leaning, and there was nowhere for me to go without smashing into the wall and like putting another hole in the wall. Oh yeah, because I fell down the stairs and I put a hole in the wall.
Put a big old hole in the wall. So that
yeah,
also
from falling down the stairs while wearing sneakers. So I was like wearing, and the first question that my mom and my brother both asked me was, "What shoes were you wearing?"
Oh yeah, like did you have flip-flops on?
Right, or like socks or whatever. And I was like, I was truly wearing sneakers on carpet. There was no reason for me to slip. Like,
didn't stop me, but there was
no, it didn't stop me. It wasn't my fault. The stair is, cut in a corner. But in any event, yeah, I'd fallen down the stairs. There was all that, and then my therapist called me to tell me that she wasn't going. She wasn't staying in private sector with no notice, like as of that day. So. Like my next appointment, which was supposed to be today, actually, was canceled. And yeah, so then, yeah, something happened on Tuesday. I don't remember.
There was something on Tuesday that feels like a million years ago.
I know. And then Wednesday was the move where the movers broke a lot of my furniture, gouged a line in one of the floors, my hardwood floors. Knocked the paint off of my freshly painted walls in a spot. Lied to me about things that they broke. And then said, yeah, like gave me the runaround when I asked for like a claim form. And then Verizon came and set up my FiOS, and that was flawless. That was easy peasy. And then
at least something went smoothly.
Yeah. And then Friday, the electrical was turned off basically all day, which was fine. But then like National Grid wouldn't come back to turn the power back on after the inspector like came and approved everything. And so like I tried to call them and they were like, well, we can't give you any information because you're not authorized on the account. And I was like, you guys were just here. And like they were pulling up my account from a few years ago because I called from my cell phone, not the property owner's account. And so like it was just this whole thing. It was like such a clusterfuck. And then moved and then got that situated, and then PK moved in, did all that, but like couldn't move in on Saturday, had to move Sunday because his cat had to get her stitches out from when she got fixed. And then I got my cats back from the vet on Friday. Oh, and my HelloFresh box got stolen again. That's what happened. That was the other thing that happened on Tuesday. So it was just like a crazy fucking week. Oh, and then the electrician still had to come back and finish stuff the week after all that happened. He came back twice, which was fine. Like he was very professional and very tidy, and I'm not upset with his work at all. But it was just one of those things where it was just dragging out.
Oh yeah, it's not that it happened, it was that it happened after all of these other things happened.
Yeah, so once I discovered the second broken piece of furniture on Thursday from my movers, that was at the point where I was like Goldie Hawn and Overboard, where I was just like blubbering on the couch, and I was like, whatever else happens, like I wasn't crying, I was just like numb.
Yep.
So I was like, whatever else happens, like I don't care. Like whatever.
That's like the night when we had just finally wrapped up like months and months of like construction going on in our house and dust everywhere and just filth and
your ceiling.
And then I said to my spouse, I was like, hey, you know, the tub upstairs, I don't know, it's like draining really slow. I think you need to unclog the drain because, you know, pets, people, hair.
Yeah.
And I got in bed with the dogs thinking it would just be easier if they were out of his way. And he came in like 2 hours later to tell me that we had a giant hole in our kitchen ceiling. And I was like, cool.
That sure is information.
Cool. That is, and it was one of those like, you know what? It's like comical at this point because there's just so many fucking things that have gone wrong that I can't even be upset about it because I just have no control over anything, and which has like kind of been the attitude the whole pregnancy. I have no control over anything, so why am I gonna fucking freak out about it?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I got you some really cute clothes for your baby shower, by the way.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I know you didn't register for them, but I don't care. You'll get gift receipts.
Prevent other people from buying things like tutus and.
No, but I will say that there is a whale and some solar system elements. Not together, but
no whales in space. Just whales and space.
Whales in space. It's like Muppets in space. Yeah. So that was fully chaotic. Sorry that that might have been difficult to follow at some points. But we'll be back in 2 weeks with another Dysfunction Junction episode. And make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Bars Ankle High. Make sure that you tell your friends about us. And if you haven't already, make sure you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, especially if you can like write out a review. It's way more helpful. And it just like helps other people discover us, which is great. The more people who discover us and the more Patreon subscribers we get, the sooner we don't even have to have ads in our episodes. So like, just think of it that way. Help us help you.
One day not having to have any ads. I just read that 2-star review and I'm just really mad about it again.
Why?
I was seeing if we had any new ones. You said it and it reminded me to check, and then and we have some like fun like guest spots coming up and like some like new stuff, new and exciting things, and we're getting all prepped for maternity leave too, so even Katie's gonna get a nice little break from things. Katie's gonna have her own maternity leave.
Yeah, just without as much vomit and blowouts. Yeah. Hopefully. And
it might still be poop, but different source.
The way things are going, yeah. Yeah, and check out our merch at bit.ly/anklehighmerch. You want to
I'm a
scream it?
grown up.
Oh, sure you are. Um,
I'm an adult.
this isn't my dad, it's a cell phone. It's a throwback for all the elder millennials there who are listening. That one's for you. And remember that starting our first episode in August, I think it's like August 3rd or 4th, all of our episodes will be ad-free for Anklet and Limbo Champion subscribers. So, we'll be posting ad-free episodes for Anklets and Limbo Champions instead of just Limbo Champions, because while Garet's on maternity leave, we will not be gracing your ear holes with this bullshit every other week, because
we'll try, but there's no promises.
Yeah, it just won't be a regular release schedule. So rather than taking your money and not delivering on what we've promised, we're just going to expand the ad-free episode benefit to the Anklet subscribers. So just keep that in mind. We'll post a reminder to our Patreon before that goes into effect, so you can change your subscription if you want to. But don't say we didn't warn you.
It's just getting increasingly more chaotic over here. I'm like,
I know. I'm trying to like rush through it.
And he literally is like, but what if I get right up to the microphone? I pan right into the microphone.
Don't let her fool you. That was Garet all along.
Oh my God.
But in the meantime, remember to communicate your needs.
Yeah. And if that doesn't work, try standing in the middle of the room and screaming them over and over and over.
Yeah, because the bar is ankle high.
Bars in hell today.
Bye.